Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be playing Old, right? And we can see here for his character traits, he has minus 25% enemy speed, plus 10 harvesting to start, minus 33% map size, so the map is much smaller, and minus 10% enemies, and minus 10% speed. So what does this mean? Well, the only thing here we can technically play around is harvesting. So what I like to do is actually go with the taser, which has pretty good damage, has good AoE, good single target, and it gets the support weapon class, which gives you harvesting. So I think the taser is a nice item to play on ult. And if you remember, like in the other video where I used the taser as my starting weapon, you can't kill every enemy in the first wave. That is completely fine. Don't stress about it. I'm killing the tree because the tree is worth 3 materials and it can drop a crate. And what are we looking for exactly? Harvesting. We want to stack up that harvesting if possible. Can also take some luck, but I would like to get harvesting. Oof, okay. So once you get to about 6 per roll, I think it's a little bit too expensive to be honest. So I will go ahead and take some attack speed here and keep going. We do want to find 2 tasers. Yep, there we go. And that's perfect actually. That's it. We could also go for a gentle alien. It isn't bad, but I think you scale so well on old that you don't really need to get more enemies to kill. Harvesting sort of stacks up quite quickly when you have all your tasers and when you have alongside your starting bonus. Once you get a few upgrades, all your tasers, you already have about 50 harvesting, 40 harvesting pretty much instantly, and then 50 if you get, just a couple upgrades. And you can see it's really simple. The map is super tiny on old. And we're looking for harvesting and we finally find it. Last time we did not. It's completely fine though. More attack speed could be okay. We're just going to take it. Nothing wrong with that. And I do like the baby gecko, so I'm going to keep it. I will say the baby gecko is not super high value on old, because the map is so tiny. You don't really need this, to be honest. It's just a sort of preference, because I really like the item. It's just satisfying having materials be attracted to you. And since the map is super tiny, it's a lot easier for chargers and projectiles to sort of overwhelm you. Just make sure you're focusing down those enemies that are more dangerous. Like these baby aliens are not really dangerous, right? They don't really do damage, they're super slow. We want to focus on the other dangerous enemies first. Ooh, harvesting versus 9 max HP. It's super greedy not to take this, it's really not worth it. But I'm actually going to take harvesting. In general though, I would say take max HP in this case, because it's a tier 3 upgrade. And at wave 3, we can now buy our items, and then continue rolling for more tasers. And since we're at 6 tasers, I'm in no rush to roll for any more, but I will do one reroll since it's very cheap. Oh, we got another baby gecko, and one more reroll, and a taser. Okay, go ahead and lock those, and continue on. And you can see there, we are at 50 harvesting. Like I said, we will get 50 harvesting almost immediately once you have 6 tasers and just like one upgrade. And you can see the damage is actually not bad at all, right? We're dealing 10 per bolt. But it will become a lot easier. I'd say once you get to wave 11, you would definitely be dealing a lot more damage. So you don't have to worry too much about it. So I kind of just stood still. I got hit there. I'm gonna try and kill all the small enemies. Get more money if possible. We don't need this. We lose harvesting. I don't really like that. Luck in this case is quite good. And crit chance is actually quite good as well. We do have pretty low crit chance to start, but it's still worth taking. This, on the other hand, is not worth. Don't want to lose damage percent. More max HP. Actually, oh, the Peaceful Bee is really nice, right? We have pure elemental scaling, so the Peaceful Bee gives us more harvesting. There is a lot of characters where I won't take this item, but I do think on old, this character is quite nice. Okay. It's easy enough, right? I'm not doing anything special, I'm just standing in the center. And the nice thing about the taser is the big slow it gives you, because it actually slows enemies by 200 movement speed. That's not percentage, because each enemy has, including yourself actually, has a sort of base movement speed or a range which they can spawn in with a certain amount of movement speed. So harvesting again. This time we will take the max HP. And in this case, the taser slow is actually a 200 movement speed slow. And you move at 450. You are already faster than most enemies by default. And your taser basically cuts their most enemy speed in half. Some enemies are so slow though, if you hit them with the taser, you will actually make them come to a halt. And this is even more true on old, because old already cuts their movement speed by 25%. So an enemy with 400 movement speed will drop to 300, and then if you hit them with the taser, they'll drop to 100, which is 20% as fast as you. So it makes them super, super slow. We don't want to lose elemental damage, of course. Boiling water, very nice though. Another taser, and a weird ghost. I think it's not a good idea to take this, it's quite dangerous. The piggy bank costs 65. It's quite expensive, I'm going to skip it here. I'll buy this though, on the other hand, and I'll save glasses. Also, I am doing these videos as a sort of guide for how to beat difficulty level 5 on each of the characters. Because I think if you're doing lower difficulties, the game will probably not feel very difficult to begin with. You'll probably end up winning quite easily. But once you get to difficulty 5, it might feel super difficult. And that's just because the stat increases that the enemies gain when you get to these higher difficulties. And sort of all the mini bosses and stuff can be a little bit difficult to understand. So yeah, this is a guide, right, for beating difficulty level 5. However, if you guys enjoy these videos and you think there's something else you might like to watch or know about the game, you can leave that in the comments below and I will think about making videos on those. Yeah, we're just going to keep buying our taser upgrades and re-rolling. And losing damage percent in this case, I think it's worth it. The metal plate is really nice, and also sharp bullet is very nice. We're going to definitely take this. Knockback is, we don't need that. On the other hand, the piercing damage lost, of course, it's a shame, but we don't even have piercing until we buy the item. So, you know, this is sort of a fake negative effect. And then the 5 damage percent is the real negative effect, right? But it's definitely worth gaining piercing. Losing 5% damage is absolutely worth losing or trading off 5% damage for. We don't, however, want to fight the slashers quite yet. We don't have the damage. We need a few more waves to get there. We want to get a bit of elemental damage, attack speed, crit chance before we start getting into those fights. You see here, if we had piercing, this would be quite a bit easier. But I will say, just focus the chargers and the eggs. Eggs, priority number 1. You want to let those hatch if you're playing old. But you can see our damage is actually quite good, right? We're clearing out most of the enemies fairly easily. Obviously, we're not killing everything, but that will be solved very soon once we get a bit more stats, a bit more damage. We definitely want to find some damage here if possible. Damage percent is perfectly fine, we'll take that. And we'll take this, and more damage percent. Another taser. Our 4th baby gecko. Speed is okay. To be honest, it's not super necessary though, so we're going to skip it here. Taser and ugly tooth. This is interesting, right? Because you already reduce enemy movement speed at 25%. This is 20%. And then if you get a snail, that's another 8%. Plus the taser slow. So you can make bosses pretty much incapable of moving. Which is definitely quite nice. Makes it a lot easier to fight the boss if it can't move. This is a good example though, right? You can see how slow the bruiser is when we hit it with the taser. Example here. As it charges, it's so slow. You can barely move. You can see we now have that piercing damage, it's helping out a bit, killing the small enemies. Oh, okay. Had to be careful. I got hit a few times. Too many. Ooh, okay, okay, okay. Um, let's just say I'm not paying enough attention. But yeah, you just move around the edges of the map very easily, and you shouldn't have any problems. Oh, attack speed is actually pretty good here. No, I'm gonna go ahead and take this. I think attack speed is nice. We don't have a ton of attack speed, so it's still okay to take. You can definitely take trees on this character. I don't think it's necessary, but it can be something helpful. And we're going to take head injury and gummy berserker. Usually I don't vouch for this item, but you have so much enemy speed slow, that I think this is reasonable to take. And since the map is so small, getting range is actually a bit more valuable. However, I will still be taking the Scar, and yeah, I'll still be taking the Bean Teacher. It's actually got a buff. It went from 40 to 50% in the recent update. And this wave is super easy. It's just a bunch of little fin monsters and chasers, fin aliens and chasers. Plus we have some of those chargers thrown in there, but they're super easy to clear out. So this is one of the more relaxing waves to go through. In this case, it's a bit easier because I do have the piercing bullet. But even if we didn't have it, we'd be able to clear this fairly easily, I'd say. Then when the bruisers are stacked up like this, you want to try and hit them all at the same time. You can force bruisers to charge, right? And then you stand near them and fire as their charge goes on cooldown. And again, you can see how difficult it is for enemies to even get near me because of the AoE slow from the tasers. And we've got 530 materials, pretty good. Bag is nice, we don't need speed too much. Wheelbarrow, also very nice. I said we don't need speed too much, but of course this is quite nice. We're at negative 14 speed. This is to 15, and more luck is always welcome. Plus range is also nice. Could definitely roll for tier 3 upgrades potentially. I don't think it's necessary. These are all very nice upgrades. No reason to skip them. We will take this, even though there are less enemies, so XP gain is not as valuable. It is still pretty good, right? There's no reason to skip that. Another peaceful bee is always welcome. More harvesting. And then elemental damage, we want to take that as well. Another bag, and lifesteal. We don't want this actually. We could take it, but we want to stack up that harvesting as much as possible. And then acid we can take. We don't want dodge, and we don't need knockback. We're getting close to wave 11, right? We're now wave 10, so the next wave will be potentially a little difficult. We would like to get quite a bit more damage going into the next wave, so we could find some elemental damage or some damage percent upgrade. Those would both be very helpful. Okay. You can see we're struggling a little bit because our damage isn't quite high enough. If we had, like, let's say 15% more damage overall, we would probably be able to clear this wave out quite easily. We're just lacking a small amount. I'm coming over to clear the trees really quickly before the end of the wave. And more luck. I did say we should take damage going to the next wave, but I'm going to take luck here. And I'm also going to take max HP. But we do want to roll and hopefully find something we can use. Actually, wisdom is interesting. I think generally this is not the best. I don't super enjoy taking it, but in a situation like this where we really don't have enough damage, I think this can be quite good. It can help solve the issue. One more reroll. We do end up getting a Cyclops worm, which is very nice for us, and we want to save the snowball because we definitely want to buy that. Piggy bank, on the other hand, we're just going to go ahead and skip. And we're against the Prey Mantis, plus, of course, the Pursuers. I will say it is going to be quite a struggle to kill this boss. Our damage is very low on old damage output. There's definitely other ways of playing the game, but I find that this one is still consistent, even if it does struggle to kill bosses. You can see we're focusing on the boss and it can barely move. Once it's mutated though, it will charge, so you have to be a little careful. Sort of kite around the edges, then move out the way. It does make it very difficult to kill the boss because you have to focus on the pursuers as well. So unfortunately, there's a chance I can't kill him here. Yeah, it looks like we won't be able to kill the boss because we have to be safe. And you can see we actually got hit by some projectiles which we could have dodged. It was definitely a little bit of a mistake by me. But yeah, this boss is a little bit hard to kill because we don't have the stats quite yet. We're going to skip this. Take more luck. Luck is always welcome. And Elemental Ducky. Um, the Lost Duck is nice, but we don't want to trade elemental damage. It's a little bit too important for us. Crit chance is good on the other hand. We definitely want to take some of that. This is interesting. So the Wandering Bot slows an enemy by 250 movement speed, and the Taser slows them by 200. So total, this slows them by 450. So it can make an enemy almost stop moving completely, but I don't think we need it. We already have so much going on. We don't need more utility, we just need more damage. And this, on the other hand, this could be good if we stacked up more dodge, but I don't think we're going to go for that here. We're just going to go ahead and skip it. And then speed in exchange for range. I will actually take that. Our speed is almost break even at 0. On old, you don't necessarily need a ton of speed because the map is tiny and you do get less enemy spawns. So even if you had, I'd say, just 5% move speed, that is probably enough. I definitely wouldn't recommend going more than probably 10 move speed, 10% move speed. And you can see our damage is still struggling, right? We definitely need more elemental damage and damage percent. Any damage stats we can get, like the sunglasses which just gave us crit chance, is a big deal. So we definitely want to take as many as possible. Also, the pumpkin, for example, is also really good. It gives you increased piercing damage. As you can see, our piercing damage is only 30% right now. It's very low. So getting more of that would make this a lot easier as well. Okay, easy enough. Made it through the wave. We're definitely not taking a tier 1 upgrade. We don't need more max HP, as nice as it is. Elemental damage. This is only a tier 2, but in this case I'm going to take it because that's what we really need right now. And then we look for more damage, more elemental damage, going to take that as well. And I definitely think this is okay, but it's not necessary. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll through, look for fuel tank, that's very nice. Little frog can actually be decent as well, but I think it's very overpriced in my opinion. I don't like buying this. In this case though, I will buy the banner. Once again, we don't really care that much about knockback. Now we look through some more, and let's see. We could trade some luck for speed, I don't think it's worth it. We could trade elemental damage for luck, I also don't think it's worth it. And we actually will end up buying this, because now we have 2 trees for items, which means we get to see a lot more trees. And it means we don't have to waste damage on them, because our damage isn't super high on old, right? Damage output is not the greatest. If you do get a ton of elemental damage early on though, you get a bit lucky with, let's say, finding boiling water, or finding elemental upgrades, damage upgrades, attack speed upgrades, or damage percent upgrades. All of these things can make it a lot easier for you to kill enemies. So your run can look very different than mine, because mine, as you can see, I haven't really gotten a ton of damage. Yeah, we just want to move slowly through the waves. Stay away from the chargers and projectiles. And make sure we clear as much as possible. So you can see here I'm getting near this clump because I want them to get hit by my tasers together. And that's it. Power generator. This could be good, but of course we don't have any move speed. This would actually lose us damage percent, which we don't want. And here we get a tier 3 upgrade. We do not need more attack speed, we already have 55%. We want damage percent or elemental damage in this case. elemental damage, damage percent. So here I'm actually going to take damage percent. And the reason is we already have 21 elemental damage. So scaling up that damage percent can help a bit more, I think. Oh, this is interesting. We don't actually have burn, nor do we care about it. So Frozen Heart is actually really good for this run in this specific build, I'd say. I'm definitely going to buy that. And let's see, we could get another Bean Teacher. Honestly, I think it's perfectly fine. We have 120% XP gain increase. That's pretty good, right? Our tasers are at 37 damage and 40 damage for tier 2s. So our damage just went up quite a bit because of this Frozen Heart purchase, which also gave us more crit chance. Really nice item. And if you remember, we also have a Snowball, which makes it so we get increased elemental damage whenever we do get elemental damage. And you can see our damage just went up a lot, quite a lot. You could easily get other items that, just as, maybe not just as good as the Frozen Heart, but, if you found another fuel tank along the way, or maybe a boiling water or two, you can easily have just as much damage as this. I also took quite a lot of lower tier upgrades. I didn't get super lucky this run, I think it's quite average. So I definitely say that this should be... Oh my goodness. Okay, we're actually struggling to kill these helm aliens. They're a little bit tankier than I'm able to get through. This is also a horde wave, right? So there's just a ton of enemies. Also, I'm not paying attention enough with my movement. Okay, I got hit 3 times. So as long as you don't get hit 3 times for no reason, like me here, you'll be completely fine. This is interesting. I do think dodge is okay, but I'd rather just find more damage. Elemental damage, damage percent. And you can see I'm not really rolling aggressively. I'm kind of being minimal with my rolls, which is not necessary. I can definitely roll quite a lot more than I am. Oh, dangerous bunny. Love that. And nothing here. Nothing here. A bait. This is interesting. The cute monkey. But I think it's a little bit expensive for what it does. Pumpkin, on the other hand, is incredible. We finally got rid of some of that negative piercing damage. We now have 45% piercing damage. And we definitely want more damage percent, more damage percent. Our weapons are now dealing 50 and 46 per hit. That's way better than it was a few rounds ago. And then once you get to this part of the run, you should have enough damage to clear most things. I will say that you can also play old with, let's say, engineering, for example, but I think it's very difficult to kill bosses with engineering. I found that this is the most consistent weapon for old. They did, of course, add some new weapons, so maybe one of them has potential, but none of them have the support class trait and do quite as much as the tasers do, in my opinion. Because I think that the tasers giving you that free harvesting at the start of your run is a very big deal. It lets you stack up and scale a lot more quickly than any of the other weapons do that you can start with. You can see we made 700, we pretty much cleared the entire wave. This, of course, we don't have any burning, however, elemental damage, right? So we definitely want to take that. We get 2 elemental damage because we have a snowball. This as well we can actually take. Generally, I skip this. I don't think it's worth the cost, and it's also not super useful. But in this case, we don't care too much about consumables, and we just take more HP regen. And we'll be perfectly safe. An energy bracelet, this is exactly what we'd like to see here. Super happy to take that. And this item, I think is not great. I didn't mention it. I noticed in a different one, it's a new item. However, we do not want to nerf our attack speed, and we also don't care about knockback or armor in this case. So we're going to go ahead and skip that. Here, another boiling water is really nice. Candle is interesting. It does give us 4 elemental damage and HP regen, but I don't like any of these 3 things here actually. I think HP regen is not worth it. Losing enemies is not good, and losing damage percent is not good. Fertilizer, on the other hand, very nice. Nothing lost from that. Another peaceful bee is also good. A warrior's helmet is interesting. We could take it for the armor, but I feel like we're quite safe. And we found another taser and another bag. Okay, I actually want to take glass cannon in this case. I think just having more damage means we're going to be able to kill the bosses. And as you can see, we have an elite coming up on wave 18. So we want to get more damage to be ready for that. Make sure we can actually clear it out. There is a high chance that the first elite you fight, if you don't get enough elemental damage or just damage stats in general, you will not be able to kill it on old. And that is just, sort of a function of the character. He has reduced damage, right? Let's see. Or he doesn't have reduced damage, however, he doesn't have any beneficial damage in his traits. So it can be pretty difficult to clear out the first elite. You did see, however, that I almost killed the mantis. I was pretty close to killing it. But we were lacking a little bit of damage, so we weren't able to completely finish it off. Your run can be very different than this, and you can see here, it's not. Like I said, this is pretty average, if not maybe even slightly below average of a run. And I'm still doing quite well, not really struggling anymore. And then any of the times where I did get low HP were pretty much just my own fault. My movement wasn't that good. You just have to be a little careful. Don't run into projectiles. Of course, running into projectiles shortens your lifespan. Now, Wondering Bot, we did skip this earlier when it was offered in the shop, and it's because it was too expensive. However, in this case, I would not sell it for 43 as opposed to taking it. I would definitely take it. Damage percent, exactly what we want. Crit chance, also exactly what we want. More damage percent. Let's see what else we have here. Crit chance and dodge in exchange for range. I think this is actually okay. We can use the dodge since we've been taking a lot of these peaceful bees. And then we're at 15% dodge. It's perfectly fine. But the crit chance is the main thing. We don't need a ton of range on old. The map is super tiny. More crit chance in exchange for damage percent. This is definitely worth it. As you can see, our damage percent is extremely amped up. We do not need this much. Coupon, fertilizer, and octopus. Octopus could be good, but the crit chance lost is not really worth it in my opinion. I don't want to take this. Upgrade. You can see the difference here. We now shoot 4 bolts, 77 times 4 damage, while this does 72 times 3 damage. So the taser tier 4 does a lot of damage compared to its previous tier 3. Yeah. And that's it. We just keep going. You might be wondering, what do we want here? Armor, right? We're in the negatives on armor. We don't like that. We want to get a little bit of armor before the boss, just to make sure we don't accidentally get one shot. You can see our damage has scaled up a lot at this point. We're dealing way more damage than we were earlier, and the waves, the monsters, are getting cleared out very quickly. This way of playing is definitely quite a lot slower than any of the other characters I've showcased so far. Any of the other characters that I made sort of guides for. But I do think that the taser is still very consistent, and you should be able to win every single run, no matter what. I don't know how unlucky you would have to get to not be able to win the run, basically. Or you just make some, multiple small mistakes back to back can also get you killed, but that's absolutely normal on any character, right? It's not just something that's unique to old. Okay. We're completely fine here. Just keep clearing out the waves, and we're good. 730 materials, ton of money, more damage percent, get some range. Tier 2s we don't want. Armor, there we go. That's exactly what we're looking for, right? Now, we can take 6% reduced damage, which is very helpful. And Recycling Machine is a little bit late to the party. I think it's probably too late to take. We will absolutely, though, take a Blood Leech and a Ritual. This actually ends up getting us into the positive with Lifesteal. Oh, Crown. This item is super good on Old if you get it early. However, it's way too late for this now. We cannot take this anymore. So we will just skip it in this case because it's too expensive. There's only 3 rounds left. Focus, on the other hand, also incredible. I always talk about this. If you're on a character that needs damage percent, or is trying to inflict damage, right? Taking this focus is really nice. 300 or 30% damage, sorry, in exchange for only 3% attack speed is really good. Campfire, also quite good. Elemental damage and HP regen, two of the stats which we want right now. And we're against Colossus. This boss might be a little scary for you, but as you can see here, it should not be a struggle if you see it in the later waves. If you see it in an early wave, you will have to do quite a lot of dodging. So I can only say good luck. But it shouldn't be too bad. The taser does slow the boss by a ton, which means that the boss should never really be getting near you. So you just have to worry about dodging his projectile spamming. And as you can see, this run is pretty much over. I don't really have anything left to do, except for pick up materials. Oh, okay, well, maybe dodge projectiles is also something you can practice. Dodging projectiles is also a good habit to have. I just got hit by another one, but my dodge activated so it didn't hit me, or didn't do damage. And Ricochet. This is actually pretty good of an item. I want to take this because I haven't taken it yet, and we have so much damage percent. I think it's a good time to showcase what it can do. And we can take some attack speed, in this case, buy the items we need, and keep moving. We do want crit chance. It's just that taking this seems a little bit silly, considering we don't need melee damage. So this is also a little bit too late, unfortunately. The snail, on the other hand, is not too late. It's never too late for a snail. Damage percent in exchange for range, that's perfectly fine. A lure is also perfectly fine. You can get more loot crates from the looters. And you can see that the Ricochet, right? If you get something like Ricochet, your run is pretty much over. Enemies, small enemies can't do anything. The map is so tiny that the Ricochet just ends up pretty much bouncing out around and killing everything. You absolutely do not need this to win the run, by the way. I just think it's, you know, fun to look at, I guess. I can pretty much stand in the middle and just let the Ricochet kill enemies for me. Just dodging the bruisers as they come. You see they turn red, move out of the way. The bruisers coming, move out of the way. They actually haven't really reached me, even though I have been trying to move out of the way. Yeah, they're not reaching me anymore. And that is thanks to Wisdom, right? Wisdom is also scaling my damage. Every 5 seconds, I get more damage percent. Not permanent, but just temporary for the wave. And our baby gecko is sucking up, vacuuming all of the things that drop. Gambling token. This is interesting. We actually do not have that much armor though. And armor is sort of more valuable the less you have of it. So I do not want to trade my one single armor for dodge. HP regen, though, we'll definitely take some of that. More HP regen. I think I want some more damage if possible. Elemental damage. You know what? We're going to skip. Okay, crit chance. This is perfect. I would have taken even a tier 2 crit. Tier 2 crit would have been perfectly fine there. We just roll through and buy every single item that does damage. You know what? The fairy. I've talked about this because it got nerfed. It used to be +2 and -2. So it's definitely way weaker than it used to be. But in this case, it still gives us 14 HP regen. Right? So we jump up to 36 here, which is kind of ridiculous. Peaceful Bee, we don't need any more harvesting items, right? We can go ahead and skip these. This does give us HP regen, though, because as you can see, we don't have this. So unique tier 1 items will give you an additional HP regen if you have the fairy. Same thing for Propeller. Oh, enemies take 10% more damage for 2 seconds when first hit by elemental damage. This is quite nice. This is a new item, just like the Snowball, the Ice Cube. So this just gives you a boost if you're playing with elemental weapons, which in this case we are. And here I'll go ahead and take another Cyclops Worm for more damage. We cannot afford this, unfortunately. We would be buying this if we could. More HP regen and speed. And also acid would be nice. But this will be the last wave. So we do just need to sit here. And you can see the bosses are almost incapable of moving. Unfortunate for them. If they get hit by my taser and the wandering bot at the same time, they can no longer move. Okay, I managed to get hit by every projectile possible this run, I think. I feel like I got hit by so many unnecessary times. So yeah, and I still managed to live, so that's a good thing, right? But yeah, that is old. I hope you guys enjoyed. We can look at the stats really quickly. See what we have. Tentacle, 43 healing, The bag, 825 materials gained. The snowball, plus 8 stats gained, elemental damage, right? And then we have the dangerous bunny, 81 materials saved. And that is all. That's everything. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked the video, please leave a like. And if you have any comments, questions, anything, please leave a comment below. Next time we will be playing Lucky, this character. So I hope you look forward to it and I hope you watch that video. Okay? Bye bye.